I bring you greetings from a country of 1.25 billion people, and you can see how many countries we can accommodate in us. And probably we had no place to put Hong Kong, but maybe some small island. I also bring you greetings of almost 500, 600 HIV physicians from India. Uh, India, with such a big population, not only pose a problem, but it also pose a good solution. India is country supplying 80% of the ART supply in the world, and almost all the medications are available, barring few of the newer ones. We would like to see, after 7 years of experience of using integrase inhibitor, where do we place them in India? It can be for treatment naive patients, and there are guidelines to support that amongst NIH guidelines or DHHS guidelines, WHO guidelines. Our own country guidelines also have some place for them. It can be for treatment experienced patients, and it can be among patients with intolerance to ARVs. So they have to be switched from those ARVs because of either nephrotoxicity or bone marrow density, or because of drug failure, or in special situations like pregnancy, or when you are treating tuberculosis, post-exposure prophylaxis and pre-exposure prophylaxis. This is a case one where 43-year-old female is a poor widow having 18-year-old daughter to support, and coming from a socio-economically deprived background. Husband died in 1998, and father is providing a support currently. She was treated with tuberculosis 4-5 years back, and 18 months back she had twice episodes of tuberculosis and received anti-tuberculosis treatment. History of periods of poor adherence from her history, which we could notice, and having received different ART regimens. Among them, definitely what we have information is she received tenofovir, emtricitabine, efavirenz for 3 years off and on, then clinically failed, and after that she was given lopinavir ritonavir with tenofovir 3-TC and darunavir ritonavir with tenofovir 3-TC for prolonged periods. No genotype test was done because she could not afford, and out of frustration had stopped all treatment. When we seen a couple of months back, she had a weight loss, fever, fatigue, oral candidiasis, neuritis, headache, generalized skin rash. And when we seen hemogram, it was 3,500 total count. Hemoglobin was 11.3, and ESR or sedimentation rate was astonishingly 120. Gene expert was AB negative. Chest radiograph shows increased bronchoscopal markings, and SpO2 was only 94. Her CD4 count was only 2, and plasma viral load was 100,000 copies per ml. CT brain was suggestive of irregular ring enhancing lesions, and it was in left lentiform, inferior frontal and right parietal area, and it was suggestive of toxoplasmosis. It can be tuberculosis. HIV with failure to available first and second line regimen, pneumocystis carrying pneumonia, oral candidiasis, CNS toxoplasmosis, and anemia, and we have to rule out tuberculosis. So these are the different diagnoses we are looking in this patient. So what regimen would suggest? Atazanavir ritonavir with 2 NRTIs, Maraviroc with 2 NRTIs, Raltegravir with 2 NRTIs, Atazanavir with ritonavir and Raltegravir, and any other regimen. And this is a situation about 6-8 months before, when we had no availability of dolutegravir that time. So I would like to know the response from audience for 1. Who is in favor of 1? Who is in favor of 2? Nobody. Who is in favor of 3? I think you are not favoring any ART because she is frustrated also. And who is in favor of 4? And any other regimen? Okay, at the end of the day it happens. Might get fatigued. So in this case what we see, when the first results are before we have seen her. So it was in 2015 August. Her count was 46 CD4, 360,000 viral load, and she was on darunavir, ritonavir, tenofovir, 3-TC. When we saw, it was only 1 CD4 count, and we had to put her on tuberculosis regimen, which was 4 drug, and fifth drug we added was moxifloxacin. And because of toxoplasma, we started pyrimethamine. Because of oral thrush, we added antifungal and corticosteroid to avoid any kind of iris. And we started with raltegravir, tenofovir, 3-TC, because at that time, as I told you, dolutegravir was not available. Now, after 3 months, we had seen her CD4 count was 13, plasma viral load not done, rifampicin intolerance was there, so we had to shift her on 2 more drugs on anti-TB, removing rifampicin, because rifampicin is a robust drug. And at that time, dolutegravir was made available in India, and it was lower cost than raltegravir. So both the situation we thought, and we shifted her on dolutegravir. We see her after 2 months, 2.5 months, her CD4 count went to 57. Viral load is suppressed with Tacman 48, where it is less than 34. And we are still maintaining her on 5-drug AKT, pyrimethamine, and continuing the same treatment. ABC was, or abacavir was not given because she had a generalized skin rash. And genotype was not done because patient could not afford. So what lessons we learned from this is that role of integrase inhibitor in disparate scenarios where first line, second line already failed or suspected to be failed, where genotype is not done. Dolutegravir is robust and a relatively more forgiving drug as compared to raltegravir, and also cheaper in India as compared to raltegravir. And need for cheaper genotype assays are there because though India has been successfully copying all ARTs and making it cheaper, but there is no such thing happening for the viral load or genotype testing. So we are requesting companies in India to do that. In case 2 is Mr. JP, is a 50-year-old male, and he presented to us in March 2001. He presented with fever and persistent generalized lymphadenopathy for more than a month. There was a history of tuberculous meningitis diagnosed in 2000 April, and he was adequately treated for that. He is a highly treatment experienced, history of poor adherence. Every time we ask people that they go on high and they stop their treatment. We try to help them. And we ask them, why you are doing that? Oh, doctor, you are there to save us, so we can take a chance. And failed most of the ARVs by 2016. Now we see his reports. 2001, you can see he came to us with 136 CD4 count, 56,880 viral load, and he was given full anti-TB since 2000 April, and he was given a regimen which was efavirenz 3-TC D40. At that time, many of the drugs were not available. We are talking about 16 years before. By 2003, he was almost the same, and we didn't do viral load at that time. But if you can see 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, because I don't want to go year by year. So his viral load was never suppressed. His CD4 never crossed 200, and he was on different regimen. And every time he was coming with some kind of non-adherence, so we were trying to give almost similar drugs or similar combinations, because thinking that patient is failing, not the drugs are failing. And then from 2010 to 14, you can see that his CD4 count almost went up to 6, and viral load was almost 1.6 million, and he interrupted the medicine for more than a month that time. So we put him on lopinavir ritonavir, and at that time that was also cheaply available with us. In 2011, he developed CNS complications, so we put him on CNS penetrating PI, that was indinavir ritonavir. And in 2012, we have seen CD4 was 32, viral load was almost 687,000, ART was still irregular, and at that time we put on raltegravir. 2013, we counseled him for adherence. We told him that raltegravir is not a forgiving drug, but again he failed, and he came back with 14 CD4 count, interrupted for more than 3 weeks, and at that time we again started him on lopinavir ritonavir. At 2014, we could convince him, and that time GART was made, or genotype was made available. Prior to that, genotype was not available in India in that kind of formats which we wanted, comparing to the international community. And at that time, if you see, he was susceptible only to zidovudine, D40, tenofovir, etravirine and rilpivirine, out of which etravirine and rilpivirine not available in India even today. So tropism test showed that CCR5 antagonists were not likely to work on him. So when we started, this is his GRT or genotype profile, where it has been shown as NNRTI resistance mutations are almost to K65E, K70Y, L74H and M184V. And non-nucleoside also to P225H. Protease to M461, I541V, L76V, I84V, L10F and Q58C. And what are the options at that time? So darunavir, ritonavir with backbone, Maravirac with two backbone, Raltegravir with two backbone and other regimen. Number 1, who is in favor of number 1? Number 2? Number 3? And the last, any other regimen? Okay, so what we see that in this patient, when patient came in on 25/6/2014, count was 11, viral load was 355,000. At that time, tropism test blood was drawn and sent to the lab, and we started on Maravirac. And as soon as we got the report that Maravirac will not work, we shifted the patient on Raltegravir. With Raltegravir, also it did not work. He came down with CD4 count 7 and 273,000 viral load. We put the patient on darunavir, ritonavir. It worked very well. CD4 count went for the first time after long to almost 3 digit, 168. Viral load was 1,400. And again, patient became irregular, interrupted. So if you can see a couple of visits, that has happened. And as I told you, we were looking for dolutegravir. We made a contact with one of our colleagues in Germany, and we got a compassionate supply for this patient. And this was on 9/1/2017, when his CD4 count was 4 and viral load was 133,000. We put the patient on dolutegravir for BD or twice a day, because we knew that he failed on raltegravir. And abacavir 3TC. And we have seen after 2 months, it was 34 CD4 count. Virally, he was doing quite well, 447. We were not expecting more magic than this. And he continued that same supply, but now it is available in India, as I told you. It is from February we have in India. So currently, as the last viral load was done on 23/5, and it is suppressed, but CD4 count is not going up. And this is an area of concern for us, where wherever we have put patients on dolutegravir, when they are having low CD4 count, very low CD4 count, so they are showing immunosenescence and CD4 counts are not going up. So what lessons we learned here? It is a life-saving in highly treatment-experienced patient. Otherwise, this patient could have been dead. Every time he came with a lot of toxicity, almost 15 to 20 kg weight. He lost oral thrush, diarrhea, tuberculosis. So for him, now it is a life-saving. Minimal drug-drug interaction except with rifampicin, where twice the dose is required, and patient is already on twice the dose. Now the third case is a 17-year-old boy. He came to us in 2002 when he was only 2.5 years old, and both the parents were negative. He is from a business family, detected on pre-surgery screening. He was given plasma transfusion at birth. It was in 2000 in a district place hospital, where probably HIV testing was not done that routinely at that time, though it was made compulsory by Government of India after a Supreme Court ruling in 1998. He was born with C-section, and he was in ICU because of pneumonia. 2001, he had another hospitalization with fever, cough, cold, diarrhea, and diagnosed with renal problem. In 2002, another hospitalization. So when he came to us, it was with the history of fever, cough, and cold. His CBC showed hemoglobin was 10.3 gram %. CD4 was 1,366. Was on ART that is zidovudine, lamivudine and nevirapine since 2001, because that was the first combination made available as a 3-in-1 combination in India. And he was on PCP and AKT prophylaxis. Patient was lost to follow-up for 4 years. So when he came to us in 2006, presented with history of diarrhea off and on, fever and cough, hemoglobin was 8.3 gram %, CD4 CD8 was done, it was 219 CD4 count, plasma viral load was 53,124 copies per ml, and his ART that time was efavirenz 3-TC and D4T. As I told you, D4T was available in India, but TDF was not available at that time, so we put the patient on that treatment. So if you see his profile, in 2002, when he came to us first time, and then after 4 years, he was put on the stavudine, lamivudine and efavirenz regimen. 2008, when he came back, it was he came in between also, but I'm just giving a relevant findings and where he was virally suppressed. So he was virally suppressed, and that time viral load was not Tachman 48, so it was PCR 2400 machine. It was standard of less than 400 was undetectable. And he was put on tenofovir, lamivudine and efavirenz. In 2010, his CD4 count went up. Again, he was virally suppressed, and dose was increased because he was growing up, and at that time we were giving 50% dose, being a pediatric dose. 2014, he came with 938, virally suppressed is less than 34, ART to be changed, and because he has a gynecomastia. Now, you can imagine the situation where boy is in a adolescence phase and he is getting a gynecomastia. So family get worried, they came back, and in 2014 when we are seen, 1366 was CD4 count and virally suppressed. Now this is a gynecomastia in this patient, and I would like to know from you what options could be given to him. Can he go back on continuing the same regimen, that is TLE, tenofovir, lamivudine and efavirenz? Can we go on PI based regimen? Can we go on raltegravir with 2 backbone, and any other options? So those who are with TLE, I would like to have responses on at least these questions. Continuing the same regimen, number 1, who is in favor of that? This is not a post-lunch session, you are sleepy, no? Who is in favor of PI-based regimen? Or who is on raltegravir with 2 NRTIs? Good. I see some reason. And any other options? Okay. So, you can see the change between 2014 to 2015. After we put the person on raltegravir based regimen, and gynecomastia reduced. So, after a brief relief, gynecomastia started bothering him again. And I will show you the disparate photograph and message which I received from them just 2 or 3 days before. So, other endocrine causes have been ruled out. He is not receiving any other medications, and which is known to cause gynecomastia. This is his current picture. And the boy doesn't want to go to any swimming pool, he doesn't want to go to gym, he doesn't want to go to college because he says, how do I, he cannot wear a bra because he's a male. So this is a situation where the plan is to shift the patient on dolutegravir, tenofovir and emtricitabine, mammoplasty, counseling the person again, and any other options. So here also I would like to have some opinions from the audience and hall at the end of my talk. So what lesson we learned here? Minimal adverse effect with integrase inhibitors. So what we see, out of several medications available for ARV or amongst the ARVs in India, the bold ones are all available. The strike ones are phased out internationally, and the faint ones are not available in India. That is, etravirine is not available, enfuvirtide is not available, fosampramid, tipronavir, nelfinavir, they are not available in India. Sacubitril not available in India. They were available earlier, but they are phased out because there are not much takers. And if we look at the newest guidelines from WHO, they are all in favor of dolutegravir or raltegravir to be introduced into the regimen, either in the first line or second line or third line. And DHS guideline also favor in first line introduction of dolutegravir. And similarly, IS USA guideline also in favor of dolutegravir or integrase inhibitor in the first line. And other medicines are in the alternative first line. So in conclusion, what I would like to tell, that raltegravir is licensed for use in naive and treatment experienced patients only in US. But in India, it is licensed only for treatment experienced patient. So for naive patient, we are not able to use raltegravir nationally. Dolutegravir is licensed for treatment experienced patients in 2017. So again here, in treatment naive patient, it is not licensed. But as an individual clinician can use it, but as a national program, it is not available. Due to raltegravir's relatively high cost, it is mostly used in second or third line ART regimen in India. Dolutegravir is much cheaper, which is 40% of the cost of raltegravir. Safety profile, good CNS penetration, relatively few adverse effects, and drug-drug interactions are advantageous in favor of dolutegravir. However, it is critical to choose a good backbone along with raltegravir due to intermediate genetic barrier to resistance. With dolutegravir, any backbone can be chosen. Dolutegravir current cost is $35 per month in India, which is almost 3% of international cost. Its usage is expanding in therapeutic horizon. And dolutegravir has proved to be superior to raltegravir and has been lifesaver. So a lot of studies show that it is, they are non-inferior studies, but here we have seen that it is much superior to raltegravir. So I would like to thank all of you. I would like to invite you to a National Conference of AIDS Society of India, which is 6th to 8th October in Hyderabad, which is a 10th conference, and I am chairing that conference. We'll be giving you leaflet for that, and any other questions and discussion. And I would really need guidance from you for this case of gynecomastia. Thank you.